Lots of news about MH370 today, some good, some bad. It's Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. I am aviation journalist Jeff Wise. The good news first, the vessel tasked with the latest seabed search, Armada 7806, has arrived safely in port in Henderson near Perth, Australia, a little earlier than originally planned. That means it will get outfitted and refitted and restaffed and will be back out at the search area earlier too. The bad news is that some dodgy characters have launched a new wave of misinformation about the case. I'll explain all about that now. As Armada 7806 was coming into port earlier today, a local news station posted some aerial footage. You can clearly see the three containerized units that house the three AUVs, the autonomous underwater vehicles that are scanning the seabed together. As of last week, the ship was due into port on March 5th. According to satellite weather imagery posted by Kevin Rupp, it looks like it was trying to get ahead of some bad weather that was coming in from the south. According to information posted on the port's website, the ship will be planning to leave again at 7 a.m. on March 6th, local time. That is Wednesday morning, meaning the port visit will have been less than 48 hours, so a real tight turnaround. With a sailing time of about 4 days, that should put it back in the search area right around Monday, March 10th. Victor Ianello has posted an image showing where the seabed search occurred last week. He wrote, "The first phase of new search for MH370 is now completed. To date, Ocean Infinity has used Armada 7806 and its three AUVs to fill in the areas from previous searches that had missing, ambiguous, or low-quality data," end quote. I agree with him. I think that's what they were doing. I want to make a note. I incorrectly said last week that the area had originally been searched by Fugro. Peter Waring emailed me to correct me. Actually, it was a different contractor. It was Phoenix International. Thank you, Peter, for that correction. Phoenix International. But anyway, now that they've examined all the data gaps that we discussed in our previous episode and presumably found that the plane was not resting in any of them, that leaves the question of where they'll look next. The answer is that they will probably search these two rectangular areas further away from the seventh arc. I'll explain the rationale for doing that in my next episode. For now, I want to talk about the latest disinformation campaign that's underway concerning MH370. It's really quite exasperating. I don't want to give it too much oxygen by dwelling on it, but I also don't want to just ignore it and let people think that I take it seriously. Now, as anyone who's followed this case for any amount of time will know, there's a ridiculous amount of disinformation being spread. And unfortunately, it's being spread in many cases by influential people with a lot of reach. Suspect number one, Ashton Forbes, with his cartoonishly idiotic UFOs absconding with MH370 through an interdimensional portal. I covered him in season 2, episode 13 with David Dunbar. I still get tons of comments saying, hey, you should check out this Ashton guy. He knows what happened to the plane. No, he doesn't. The whole thing is made up from whole cloth, and it's silly. It's ridiculous. It doesn't bear even the slightest resemblance to reality. But there's another character out there who actually seems to have some chops and is actually taken seriously by people with authority and reach. His name is Richard Godfrey. I've talked about him numerous times, really, especially in season 2, episode 25. He, like me, was one of the original members of the independent group. And like me, he was kicked out. But unlike me, I think he really deserved to be kicked out. Among the various dubious claims that Godfrey has made over the years, he says that he has come up with a new technology called Whisper, WSPR, that can be used to track MH370 in minute detail. He describes a very precise wiggly path that he says it took into the southern Indian Ocean. And he says he knows exactly where it wound up. His claims are like Ashton Forbes's in that they are ridiculous on their face. No one who knows anything about radar or radio transmission takes it seriously at all. In fact, as I reported in episode 25, Joe Taylor, the Nobel Prize winning physicist who originally invented WhisPer, he told Victor Iannello, and I quote, "As I've written several times before, it's crazy to think that historical WhisPer data could be used to track the course of ill-fated flight MH370, or for that matter, any other aircraft flight. I don't choose to waste my time arguing with pseudoscientists who don't understand what they're doing." Given all that, you would think that Godfrey by now would have slunk away with his tail between his legs, but no. We live in an age of truly shameless liars. And Godfrey's gotten considerable traction, no less than the ATSB itself, the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, has spent considerable resources commissioning that report I described last week, in which Australian government scientists looked at the seabed data for the place where Godfrey claims the plane went. And extremely influential aviation bloggers like Mentor Pilot have bought Godfrey's tail, hook, line, and sinker, and spread this nonsense to millions of viewers on YouTube. So I really think few people have done as much to confuse the public and spread fog over the topic of MH370. And I have no idea why he's doing it. I don't think he's getting rich off of it. Maybe it's just for the attention. I don't know. But I very much hope that Ocean Infinity does go to check out the area where he says the plane went, just to prove that he's wrong. I rather suspect that they won't, because they probably don't want to just waste their money, but who knows? All of that is context for what Godfrey is saying now. He said it today on Jeffrey Thomas's podcast. Thomas, by the way, is a longtime co-conspirator and fellow spreader of MH370 misinformation. Okay, this is the claim. That way back in 2014, on the night that MH370 disappeared, an Emirates Airbus A380 flying north from Melbourne to Dubai was flying across the Indian Ocean when it spotted MH370 flying the other way. And the captain, a man named Martin Smith, has just now, 11 years later, decided to come forward and tell his story. All right, so does this story make any sense? Let's leave aside the issue of how someone could have just sat on their hands through all those years when MH370 was the hottest story in the world. It was all anybody wanted to talk about. Everybody wanted to know what happened to the missing plane. I mean, I went on CNN for months. It was all they talked about, literally. Anytime they tried to talk about something else, the viewers would turn off the TV. So they kept going back and back and back and back. And this guy sat on his hands, supposedly. Okay. Let's talk about the specifics of the claim. According to Godfrey, this guy is flying over the wide open ocean in the dead of night, and he sees a plane with its lights on coming the other way. Okay, so why? So who cares? Like, that's of very little. It would not grab your attention, right? But so Godfrey's story is that the thing that made him notice it was that this plane was not on his TCAS, his traffic collision avoidance screen. And that seemed weird to him. Now, they're they're over the middle of the ocean. The sky is huge. The ocean is huge. These people are not going to run into each other. It does not make any sense that you would even look at your TCAS screen. It would just not register. I'm not an airline pilot, but it seems pretty logical. So for some reason, this guy looks at the sky, sees a plane that's coming the other way. He looks at his TCAS screen. That plane is on his TCAS screen. And then he calls up air traffic control and he says this guy's not got his TCAS on. And files a complaint or something. But so he thinks he makes a big enough deal of it to complain to air traffic control, but he doesn't mention it to anybody in the week that follows or the months that follow or the years that follow until 11 years later, according to Godfrey, he reaches out to Mentor Pilot and Mentor Pilot says, talk to Richard Godfrey. Thank you, Mentor Pilot. So Thomas headlined his video about this. It's called, quote, MH370 new evidence confirmed. Like, this story is confirmed. Okay, it's not confirmed. This story is not confirmed. This story didn't happen. This is like your girlfriend from Canada. You're telling stories. It's ridiculous. Okay, so let me know what you think. Actually, let me know in the comments if I'm just going too far, if I'm being too mean to Richard Godfrey. But in the meantime, I have a request. This is my request. This is what I would like. I want anyone who might watch my show and wonder if they should also listen to Godfrey and Thomas, stop paying attention to these people. And to all you TV producers out there, stop booking Godfrey on your show. Stop booking Thomas on your show. ATSB, stop telling people that Godfrey is a credible authority and stop investigating his claims. Stop being such dummies. All right, that is my rant for the day. For now, we'll have to wait a bit as Armada 7806 gets refueled and restocked and recrewed. Pretty soon, it will be back making its way westwards, and we'll learn the next great secret to be revealed, which is whether Victor is right. I expect that he is, but we'll find out what the next phase is after that. Will the search be extended beyond the planned 15,000 square kilometers? And if so, where? That's really what I'm really keen to find out. I will definitely be covering that right here. Until then, if you want to know more about the case, please visit the show page at findingmh370.com. You can subscribe for a free newsletter. And if you want to support the show, you can buy a paid subscription, which I very much appreciate if you do that. For now, this is Jeff Wise. I'll see you next time.